welcome to another episode of In the Deep with Dave.
Sit down, didn't even look me in the eye, and I kind of was like, whoa, that's how it's going to be. This was on Christmas Day. I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa!
Today's episode, I'm joined with
Pamela Anderson when she was on Baywatch.
When you're rugby playing, cage fighting a dog.
the advice for entrepreneurs. If you go into business or if you start a business chasing the money,
and you can't do it once. Like, people think they're going to sit down and think about the law of attraction.
I got the guys to lose over 100 stone. I went home to Ed, I gave him a cuddle and I said, look, you're brilliant, you can play the guitar, you can do a bit of beatboxing. And his words to me, and it always stick with me, he said, do you really think I'm good?
Please hang up and try again.
Welcome to the In the Deep with Dave podcast. Being a successful entrepreneur, Dave discusses with guests their motivation, mindset, and their meaning of success.
I had a profile picture that was my business logo because I didn't feel like I looked corporate. So always saying to me, "Oh, you'll never get a proper job. You'll never get a proper job if you get tattooed." Yeah. And that was the same with everybody at school. Teachers used to say. I was quite young when I started getting tattooed. So this time last year, I would have said to you, "I'm not really anybody." Every one of them is going to attract a different crowd of people. And the crowd of people they attract will be people they love working with. Getting to be a seasoned pro at this now.
Aye. So, Lea, thanks for agreeing to come on the podcast. Just for the listeners, watchers, viewers, can you just give us an explanation of who you are, what you do?
So this time last year, I would have said to you, I'm not really anybody for myself. When I have it, I sort of think if there are people that are sat there with the time to go around trying to sabotage someone who is successful, then maybe they need to be focusing that energy on making their own life successful. Because and I just run a little transcription business, which is still true, although it's growing every day. So I do audio transcription for focus groups, interviews, HR meetings, building surveys, all of that kind of thing. And during lockdown, I started offering some help on LinkedIn for some people, which went very well. And then I started charging for it. And so now I run a LinkedIn coaching business as kind of my primary income. And I still run the transcription business as well. Taken on a PA, and I've got a team of 5 transcribers now as well. So yeah, stay pretty.
And where did the whole LinkedIn specialism come from, and where did that begin for yourself?
I never used LinkedIn until this time last year. So October 2019, I think it was the end of October. So nearly my 1-year anniversary now. I started posting regularly on LinkedIn because one of the ladies that I worked with wanted to leave her full-time job and come and work with me. And so she said to me, "Do you have enough work?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't. But give me a couple of months. I'll see what I can do. See if I can make it possible." Because I knew I wanted to take her on. She's so, Naomi, she's fantastic. Just like one of the best transcribers I've ever met. So I kind of just lurked onto LinkedIn to see what it was about, see if there was any marketing opportunities with no real idea how to use it or what to say. And like most of my coaching clients, I just sort of went, I don't really belong here. I don't think anyone's going to be interested in what I've got to say.
Yeah.
Like, why would they care what I say? I had a profile picture that was my business logo because I didn't feel like I looked corporate, so no one would take it from me. And then I just kind of thought, fuck it. What's the worst that can happen? I've already got clients. There's nothing to really be afraid of. And I just started posting and posted whatever I was thinking, insights into what I do, things that I've done in my life, places that I visited, I went on holiday, and people just started following. Like, the numbers kept going up and up and up really fast. And I didn't know that was unusual because I had no frame of reference on LinkedIn. And then a few people said to me, "Jesus, you've gone up that many that fast." I was like, "Well, yeah. Like, is that a big deal?"
Yeah.
And then I started comparing my profile to other people's and went, "Oh, okay, this is maybe this is quite unusual. And it seemed like the behaviours that I was displaying on LinkedIn were doing so well by adding that sort of personal edge to the things that I post, not just making it purely business and making things fun and really getting involved with the people that I interact with, like commenting lots and getting involved in conversations. And it just worked. My profile was at 10,000 within the first 2.5 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
And then within the next 2 months, it had doubled again to 20,000. And then lockdown happened, and it's just kept doubling and doubling to somewhere in the like mid 50s, I think now. But I'm only connected to 14,000. So it's
so people are following you. They're not connecting with you. They're following you.
Lots do connect with me. I reject a lot of connections because I don't want my own newsfeed full of people that I have that I can't work with them. There's no real point to me networking with them. So I don't want their content constantly filling up my feed, because then I miss the content of the people that I genuinely am interested in, and I'm constantly unfollowing people. So I'm quite selective over who I connect with. And plus you've got an upper limit of 30,000. So I don't want to reach my limit and then have to keep deleting people.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think it was about your content that was different to, because I always say LinkedIn can be the dullest place in the world, and when somebody new comes along, someone fresh, and new ideas and say what they want, I kind of like that about LinkedIn, because it puts a lot of people's backs up, and you get the like keyboard warriors, and this is not Facebook, and this is, I'm like, oh God.
You know what? I think they've given up on me now. Because every time someone tries with a "this isn't Facebook," they just get a barrage of people telling them to piss off. Like, well, not in so many words, but people just sort of mocking them and just saying, you know, she's doing well. And obviously my methods are working, because me and my clients, I get leads and bookings from LinkedIn every single day. And whether it's with a transcription or LinkedIn coaching, I get people every single day. My clients are all doing really well. Even the ones that aren't necessarily getting leads, maybe they've got bigger ticket items, or because of the economy the way it is right now, some of them are not really getting a lot of business, but they're building up communities and networks of people that care about them and that they care about, and creating more opportunities for themselves. So I think for me, I'm a natural connector of people. Like, if I meet you and I know what you do, I will remember. And the next time I hear somebody that says, I need someone that does that, I'm like, oh, I know someone that does that, and I put people together. And I would have assumed, because I've got a terrible memory generally for everything else, that wouldn't be my forte.
Yeah.
But people really stand out in my brain. Like, people that I've connected with really stand out. So I connect people, and I refuse to be boring on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I want to have fun in every aspect of my life. Like, we only get one. So whether it's dancing in the kitchen, making porridge in the morning, or jumping in puddles with my little boy, or whatever it is we're doing, I'm trying to have fun with it. And if I'm sat on LinkedIn for 8 hours a day with work and interacting and marketing and all of that, I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
having fun on there, people want to be around you, especially at the moment. It's such a miserable world that anybody that sort of is a bit sunshiny is popular, I guess.
Where did you realise that you could actually make a business and change focus, if you like?
Well, it was back in May, and there was a lady who'd been on another coaching course with a well-known LinkedIn coach, and she was really unhappy with the service that she'd received. And she was quite upset about it because it had cost her a lot of money. And she phoned me, and I said, well, do you know what? Here, this is what I do. Try that, see if that works for you. So we'd had a conversation for about an hour or so, and I basically told her everything I know. And she said, why aren't you charging for this? And I was like, oh, everybody knows this stuff, don't they? She said, no, I don't know any of this stuff. I never would have thought of any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I mulled it over so that was probably mid-April, and I mulled it over for a few weeks, and I thought, you know, I'm still busy with typing, but I'd gone from having a team of 4 to just me. And I was busy, but I wasn't busy enough to really pay all the bills. So I offered a free session to somebody, and I put a post out saying, would people be interested if I actually did this? And I hosted a free session with somebody and said, do you think I could charge for this? Do you think I've got enough information that you would pay money for it, and how much would you pay? And he came back with some really great feedback, which helped me to put together what I then was charging for. And then I put out that I was going to do it, and I had loads of bookings quite quickly. And then, and I was only charging £99, so it wasn't a high ticket kind of thing. And then it just spiraled from there. Like, I got told off by a few of my clients, you're not charging enough. And they insisted on giving me free coaching in their expertise in return for the value I'd given them. And the more successful it became and the more people started getting leads, I guess my confidence got boosted. And so now I'm doing group coaching for businesses. I've done some in-house coaching for a couple of companies. It's been...
And how do you find the coaching for companies different? Obviously, you can, you get, if you're working with sole traders or people within their own brands, if you like, they have a little bit more freedom to be a little bit more expressive. How do you find the difference in working with companies where they can be very restrictive or more...
The companies that come to me don't want to be restrictive.
Right.
They want their clients to embrace their own individualities, which is where the companies do really well. If you imagine you've got a company and there's 10 people, and those 10 people are all cookie cutter corporate molds of each other, the only people they're going to be attracting, the only clients they're going to attract are the exact same people, right? They're just going to be more corporate bores. Not that everybody in corporate is a bore, but that is who they will attract. But if you have 10 different people from 10 different cultural backgrounds, who've got 10 different skin shades, who've got different genders, different physical abilities, different sexualities, different perspectives on life, different personalities to shine. And you say, right, go out into the world and attract your crowd. Every one of them is going to attract a different crowd of people. And the crowd of people they attract will be people they love working with. They will be happier in their jobs. They'll be able to be themselves. They'll work harder, and the company will benefit from it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. If I had a company that was a big company, I would want everybody to, yes, there would be a code of conduct, but I'd want them to be themselves. I'd hire them because I want them to bring their real selves to work and use that to attract the clients that they love working with. Because if you love working with people, you will work harder and better. So
I suppose that's probably an interesting point, which no one's ever raised on the podcast. And we've had, some big successful business owners on this podcast and football club owners, and nobody's ever raised the point of giving the staff the freedom to go and attract the people who they will attract. And my wife always says this about me, she says, you attract people so similar to yourself. So, like the people I knock about with, we're all the same. We all like to get up to the same, and people I meet in business, and you're right, because you attract the people who have similar values, ethics, morals to yourself, because you want to work with these people. And I suppose no one's ever explained that in a business sales term, is you want that salesperson to go out and be corporate, go and attract a corporate business. But if they're not corporate, they're almost pretending to be someone else on a daily basis, aren't they?
Yeah, I know that it's not going to work in every industry, but for the industries it does work in, it can work so much better. And for me, the core thing, so I worked in a few different jobs in my sort of late teens and early 20s where I felt deeply uncomfortable because it just didn't feel like me. And then I had a role as a office manager for building consultants, and they just let me be. They let me be exactly who I am. They didn't try to stifle me. They didn't care if I had tattoos and piercings and bright pink hair. None of that mattered to them as long as I did my job well. And it let me flourish, and it let my confidence build, and I knew exactly who I was. And I never felt like I had to be one person at work and one person at home. And I think that's something that people really, really struggle with. Mental health is such a huge issue these days. And I'm sure, I don't have any facts and figures to back it up, but I witness it in people that they've got this version of themselves at work, this version of themselves as a partner, this version of themselves as a parent, and the version of themselves as a friend. And maybe the version of themselves is different at work as a manager to an employee. So if, to their boss, they act one way, to their employees, they act another. cutting your own personality into all of these different pieces, and none of them is going to be as good as it could be because you're dividing yourself. And actually, I've always just shown up exactly as me. On LinkedIn, in business, I'm jovial, maybe slightly flirtatious and silly and playful with my clients, with my friends, with everybody in my life. And I bring that sense of kind of a happy vibe generally. Not to everybody. I have my moments when I'm super stressed and you know, short-tempered or whatever, but as much as I possibly can. And it makes people want to work with me because I just am who I am, and I don't pretend to be anything else. And it keeps my mental health in check because I don't have to feel like I'm not living up to the expectations of anybody because I'm splitting myself into too many different parts.
Great bit of advice that. I think it's almost motivational really about people being themselves, and I think a lot of businesses have stripped that away. So you mentioned on when you first started on LinkedIn and you had a picture of your company logo instead of yourself with your tattoos and things like that. I've seen a couple of conversations, and I think got introduced. One conversation I think where I found you was over your price that you charge, and people were absolutely astonished.
That did quite well out of that post actually.
Astonished by the price which you did, and like, people think cheap's always best, or keep your price low. And then people think, oh, he charges too much. But it's like, I use this analogy all the time. It's the people who cut the royal family's hair. They charge a lot more than my barber in the local street who charges £5, £6. So there's levels of price, and you pitch yourself in whatever level. The tattoos has been a conversation as well in terms of, why did you feel at the start you couldn't, on LinkedIn, couldn't be who you were with the tattoos?
I think I had no real experience with LinkedIn, so I didn't know how much it had changed from sort of the last time I looked at it, when it was just CVs and businessmen and, you know, the sort of white collar people that I would never mix with on a day-to-day basis normally. And because I've worked from home for sort of 8 or 9 years, and I've got more and more tattooed and more sort of like I stand out. And it's not that I thought that I didn't have the brains to keep up with them all conversationally. I think I just thought I probably need to look like I wear a suit to work for them to take me seriously. They're not going to take this like blonde-haired single mum covered in tattoos and piercings seriously as a businesswoman. That's my own insecurities, I think, not really a reflection of the people on LinkedIn. Although I definitely broke down some stereotypes. I think a lot of people have gone, oh, hold on a minute, like, she's probably not what I would expect her to be. Yeah. Because people have come forward and said that, and they said, you know, you are surprising. You don't fit any particular mold, and you're kind of breaking down the barriers between looking a certain way and what is professional, and the fact that you are professional and you choose to look like, you know, a tattoo artist or whatever people like to compare me to. So yeah, I guess it was my own insecurities really, but insecurities that have come from conditioning of my mum always saying to me, oh, you'll never get a proper job. You'll never get a proper job if you get tattooed. And that was the same with everybody at school. Teachers used to say, I was quite young when I started getting tattooed, everybody would just say, you know, you'll never get a proper job like that. Yeah.
And I think that is going, because my parents, especially the mum, God rest her soul, is like, she hated tattoos. So when my brother, I think I got my first tattoo, and I just hid it. It was on my chest. And then when my brother got a tattoo on his arm, I was like, Mum, our Andrew's got a tattoo. Even though I had tattoos, I thought, I'll grass him.
My sister shot.
I'll grass him up. And then I got a sleeve tattooed, and she's like, what have you done that for? And I'm just like, in the end, she just gave up on us, and she's just like, do what you want. I'm like, nobody cares anymore, man. Like, there's only your generation and probably a few who've creeped over who actually care anymore. And I think that will change moving forward. The next generation of workers, certainly the young people coming through, will look up to people like yourself who broke the mold, changed the perception, and, you know, judging books by its cover. We all do it. We all look at somebody and judge. That is in us. But I think certainly now it's been a lot more relaxed on that side. Even wearing shirts and ties for work. Like, I've
During
just,
lockdown, we're all in our pajama bottoms anyway, aren't we? Really, seriously.
I hate a meeting now because I have to put a pair of jeans or chinos on. Like, I rock a pair of shorts in the office 90% of the time, honestly.
I think
Like,
there's going to be a big shift in the working world in general. There's going to be people that love getting back into a suit, of course. There's people, but I think it's a case of we've all sat on Zoom and seen each other's, partners or children do something that they shouldn't, or some calamities happened, or something embarrassing has occurred, or we've all seen into the humanity of each other a lot more. And I think that cannot be a bad thing, because I think a lot of us bring, if we've got a lot more compassion and empathy in the workplace with, suddenly I've seen other people struggling with their kids jumping all over them. That normally we'd just be face to face in an office and I'd have no idea what their home life was like. But suddenly they're really relatable and makes them much less intimidating. And we're just all people trying to get by. So I really hope that that's something good that's come out of this, and we've all realized that everybody's going through their own struggles and starting to be a lot more tolerant and open-minded with the people around us.
Do you think the lockdown and the new way of working, do you think it's going to encourage more people like yourself to create that business from home? And it's not about, I used to think I couldn't work from home, couldn't work on my own. Like, now working from, and I've got multiple offices with multiple businesses I can pop in and see, but I can now work from home. And all of a sudden, like, there's people like yourself, coaches, mentors, different businesses popping up where they're actually cool businesses as well, and working with people in a different way, where often you'd see like a boring business consultant who would work from home, where now people like yourself are almost making that kind of career path a little bit cooler, doing things on your own terms, working your own hours.
Well, I've been doing it already for 9 years. So for me, it wasn't, the only difference with the lockdown was that my son was at home with me all the time. So that was, slightly more challenging, especially when I was starting up a second business. But I think it's definitely meant that people are thinking outside the box, as much as I hate that phrase, but they are thinking outside the box of what other skills do they have that people need. And I think people are realizing, none of us have it all figured out, and actually coaching is a wonderful way for us all to support each other. And with the LinkedIn coaching that I do, I actually have a group of people that have been coached by me previously, and they're all in a group together on LinkedIn, and they share ideas for posts and help inspire each other. They're not allowed to ask for engagement, because that's absolutely banned, and they get a warning if they do that. But they are allowed to swap ideas, and they're networking together, and they're supporting each other, and they're skill swapping with each other, and it's amazing to see. And I think that mindset of people realizing none of us are actually holding it together, like all of us have needed a bit of support over all of this, and people being a bit more vulnerable, and that's opening up the world to coaches a lot more, I think. Because Americans use coaches for everything. They're so open to it. And I think the British culture is more, we'll just get on with it. We'll just cope. We just, we'll do it on our own. But I think we're definitely becoming much more open to it now.
Well, America always set the trailblazer, and Britain will follow eventually somewhere down the line. I always think if it's always launched in America first. We're adapting more and more of the American way, I believe. Yeah. What do you think why do you think coaches, or having a coach, is so powerful? What does it give you the ability to do?
I think the key is a different perspective. We get ourselves, I know that I get myself tangled up because I'm trying to run two businesses. There is a lot of stuff going on. There's loads of PR stuff happening at the moment. And as you can well imagine, my DMs on LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, my emails, my phone, it's like constantly going, like notifications all day long. I end up turning them off. And it's stressful. And I put so much pressure on myself to be able to do everything all the time. And having a coach who I'm actually having my first business coaching session on Monday with David Lee, it's taking a step back and having somebody ask you the right questions that make you go, well, maybe I'm not. One of my clients said to me the other day, I said, I'm always nearly late. I always exist on the edge of screwing up. And that's just, and she said, but are you always nearly late, or are you always exactly on time? Which actually means that you are always so organized, even if it doesn't feel like you're organized, you're always so organized that you're exactly on time. I was like, that's an interesting way of framing it. And all of a sudden I got a different perspective, and I'm like, hold on, I'm not as chaotic as I think I am. I'm always on time. And actually, it was just her insight to frame it in a different way that made me go, oh, actually, I'm not nearly as a mess and chaotic as I think I am. I think that's the skill of a really great coach, is that they're not actually telling you what to do. They're guiding your own thoughts towards what you already know, but just getting you to say it out loud and actually acknowledge it and change the way you perceive what's going on
a bit
around.
of challenging on your thoughts as well, isn't it? It's like sometimes at the top, or if you run your own business, if you're a sole trader, if you're a CEO MD, it's very lonely. Not a lot of people challenge you on your thoughts.
Absolutely.
And if you challenge yourself on your thoughts, I mean, it's just a dark place to be sometimes when you're challenging yourself, but you never get anything done. And that's one thing, we've got we invest, me and my business partner, a number of different businesses, and we sit with the MDs, the owners of the business who we've invested in, and we don't tell them what to do. We never do, because I can't tell the MD in our recruitment business what to do, because he knows more about recruitment than I do. I just challenge him on, have you thought about this? What about this? Why are you doing it that way? Is there another way? Is there a better way, a more efficient way? And then pulling in ideas from things you find, little, time-saving hacks, and just giving them the kind of the tools to do it, really.
Support, isn't it? And I think one of the clients I worked with the other day said to me, what was it she said? She said, why do you expect yourself to know everything? I was like, well, I don't really. She said, well, then why is it a problem when somebody offers you help? Because they do know that thing. So I've got my friend Ian Dempsey, he's my financial advisor now. And I've never been in a situation where I've even considered needing a financial advisor, but I'm very lucky that now I am. And he is coaching me on how to look after and invest the finances that I'm now getting, because I want to be able to buy a house, which has never been in my grasp at all in the past, because I'm a single mum. And, I wasn't on a particularly great salary or anything like that. So buying a house was never going to happen. But now it's within my reach, and he's helping me to get there. And I could go and learn all of this stuff, but I'd be baffled and I'd probably give up, because I'd just be like, oh, it's too complicated. But he's guiding me to do it. And I've got somebody who knows more about structuring businesses that's helping me with that. Alice Stevenson helped me set up all the terms and conditions and the legal stuff for my business. I don't know how to do that stuff. Why would I be expected to do that stuff? I've never needed to do it. And it would take me so much time to go and learn how to do it. But why not accept or ask for help from people who know it better? I'm terrible. I do love to be able to do everything myself. And I'm very independent. And I'm one of those people that if I can do it myself, I will do it myself. But I'm actually having to learn to undo that way of thinking and say, you don't have to know and do everything. There are people there who will do it in half the time for a bit of money, and it's just done, and it's a lot less stress.
One of the most powerful things I always say, and I think, is you only know what you know, or you don't know what you don't know. If you can conquer that, and you can allow people in to bring you, I think one of the most intelligent things that you've said there is that you're now bringing these people in, the financial advisor, the business coach, the people who to support you, because that's going to help you grow, that's going to get you your goals. A lot of people don't know to do that as well. Again, going back, you only know what you know, because my wife's a nurse. She's always been an employee, if you like, of somebody. So when I say I'm working with X, she's like, why do you need someone to do that? Oh, well, I'm putting some investments into pensions in this side. What's wrong with the bank? Like, because she doesn't know about these areas, and you've never been introduced. And I think so to be, talking to these people now is a great testament to kind of.
I don't have a choice. If I'm completely honest, all of these people that I'm now working with have hired me. and we've gotten to know each other through coaching, they've really appreciated what I've done and seen the benefits that I've brought to their business, and they've turned it around and said, let me support you. And a lot of them are doing it free of charge because they genuinely want to see me succeed and help me, which is incredible. It's just such a wonderful thing. But people have literally come forward and they've said, you know, you've helped me, I want to help you now, and I'm going to help you and give you guidance and get you to where you want to be, because they think, you know, that I deserve it and they want to support what I'm doing, which is lovely. It's weird because I'm not used to, a bit of background on me is that, so it's always just been me and my son. My son is 5, and since the moment I found out he was happening, it's just been us. So I've just always done everything myself. I left home at 16 and I've completely provided for myself my entire life. So now that there are people that are sort of almost forcing help on me, it's quite unusual for me. I'm just like, oh, okay, like there's all these people around me that want to help and want to support me, and I'm just used to having to do everything on my own. So it's a bit of an adjustment, but it's like I wake up every morning with a bit of a warm fuzzy feeling in my tummy, because like I'm really lucky to have some incredible people all around me that genuinely want to see me succeed. There's obviously a few around that don't. as is always going to happen. As I'm learning, the more you do well, there are people that appear out of the woodwork that really don't want you to do well. It's very hard to make sure you don't do well.
And they're always going to be there. The haters, they're always going to hate. You know, the most famous quote from Taylor Swift, they're always going to hate. And that's
Taylor Swift at me.
I'm quoting Taylor Swift. I love that. You know what I mean?
I expect to turn that interview.
See, when people come on my podcast and expect, you know, literature quotes and things like that, not from me. It's Taylor Swift, and my life is very much influenced by my 2 kids as well. You know, so it's one of them things. But the bigger you get, the more you put yourself above the parapet, the more people want to take your head off.
Yeah.
You've just got to learn to not dwell on them ones and just move on and be positive. And I think, you know, you seem to have that attitude anyway. So I
do try. I have to say, there was an occasion, there was a conversation I had yesterday with somebody that made me just feel, you know what, this sucks, because people are sort of popping out of the woodwork and trying to say things about me that aren't true, and sort of clinging to straws, clutching at straws at sort of things that they're accusing me of doing. And I just think, well, but why? Like, for me, I want to see everybody around me succeed. And I don't care if that's above me or below me and that I can help them. I just love to see people do well. And I don't know, maybe I'm too happy clappy. But
So yesterday we talked about, with one of my businesses, someone had left a bad review on our business Facebook page. Someone from Liverpool, we have no connection with, nothing, but left a review. So anyway, I thought, I'm just going to Google these reviews and see what. So somebody had left another review. So I clicked on, when you leave a Google review, you can see what reviews this person's left other businesses. The same person who left us a 1-star review had also said about the 3 shop in Washington, never been in, only passed it, 1 star. Then the same person then left Sainsbury's a review of 3 stars out of 5. I didn't go in Sainsbury's, it was Argos, 3 star. So these are the kind of shit you'll get on your business reviews. Like, it blows my mind that these people have the time to do these reviews, having never experienced any good, bad, or anything indifferent from the businesses.
I think that's how I comfort myself when I have it. I sort of think, if there are people that are sat there with the time to go around trying to sabotage someone who is successful, then maybe they need to be focusing that energy on making their own life successful, because there must be something desperately missing in their lives that they feel they can waste part of their day trying to tarnish somebody else's reputation. Like, if you don't like them, just have nothing to do.
Move on.
Avoid interaction with them, and just carry on with your life and do positive things. And so, as it hurts to know that there are people out there doing that, and it's not very nice, but I'm quite a strong person and I don't like to show that things get to me, but it doesn't feel good. And I just go, well, I actually feel sad for you that you're so focused on what I'm doing with my life that you're missing out on your own. Because my life is no relevance to what's going on in your life at all. We'll never meet. We don't know each other. We never will. So why are you so concerned?
That's right. So LinkedIn is, probably I think any business owner needs to be on LinkedIn. There's such a massive opportunity. What's the kind of tips that you're giving your clients? What kind of key tips? Where are people fundamentally going wrong? Give us two things where they're fundamentally going wrong.
I don't know if it's going wrong, but people don't use LinkedIn the way it could be used because they just scroll and observe. If you're just lurking, if you're scrolling through and reading LinkedIn as if it's the BBC News feed, maybe you're dropping the occasional like, but nobody knows you exist.
Yeah.
You're missing out. It's like going to a party and standing in the corner and not speaking to anybody. You're not going to have fun. You can't have fun. You're just standing watching everybody. You may as well stay at home and watch a TV show if that's the case, because you're not getting any interaction. But the biggest thing I say to people is whether you are confident enough to post or not, is comment. Get involved in the conversations. You've got to. And you don't know who you're going to meet. It's such a level playing field on LinkedIn. There could be an opportunity, one click away, one comment away with somebody that it's going to start a conversation up with. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And also people who only talk business, because as humans, the businesses you run a recruitment agency and you've mentioned a couple of others. On a business level, probably nothing in common whatsoever. But we started this conversation talking about our dogs, and we talked about our kids, and we've talked about tattoos. We've talked about things that make us who we are.
Yeah.
And that's how we'll connect, and that's how we'll build rapport. And then we'll go on to end up talking about work and business opportunities together. But we have to start on the human level and connecting on something that's common. So when you talk about something that you do in your life outside of work, or a problem that you've overcome in your life, whether that's in work or personally, you're giving people an opportunity to see who you are and go, yeah, I've been through that as well, or I went through similar, or I'm actually going through that now, and seeing you succeed is great. Or I have that dog, I've got a beagle as well, and oh my god, they're nightmares, they dig the garden all the time. And you're immediately building up that rapport, because if you go to a networking event, you don't walk up to someone and go, hi, I'm a recruiter. You will talk about the quality of the wine, or you'll moan about the weather or traffic or something. We're British, we'll have a moan about something. We find that common ground first. And people forget that when they go on LinkedIn. They go, oh, I'm just going to come on here and talk about my boring old job and my boring old life, my boring old office. And it's like, yeah, but why am I hiring you over the 100 other people that I'm connected to that do what you do?
You're not setting yourself apart, are you?
No. People who, if you are who you are on LinkedIn, and that be conversational, have a bit of banter, have a bit of fun, don't be afraid to show your personality within the rules around your job. Obviously, if you are restricted, you can still show personality, and people will like you if they feel good around you and they like hanging around, chatting to you and commenting with you. They're going to like doing business with you, and they'll find a reason to do business with you, and they'll recommend you if they genuinely think they're going to enjoy it. Like, that's what it comes down to.
How powerful do you think LinkedIn stories are going to be, or are, now that they're out?
I don't know. I mean, I've been scrolling through them and I've really enjoyed them. There's a really horrifically annoying feature in that every single time someone replies to one of your stories, it goes into your main inbox. So if I post something that's like funny, I get 100 messages of people replying to it, and then all of my business inquiries are down the screen, which is a real. I wish they'd put a separate news. But I think it could be really good. I think I see people on there who I don't see in my news feed, which is really good
I
because
think stories will encourage the personality out. When it's on your news feed and it's all very official, it's like, oh shit, it's out there in the world. Even though stories are out there,
they're
people
there for
flick through.
24 hours.
That's it. They flick through stories, so you
Yeah.
can post something funny on your stories. You know it's gone as quick
And
as it's on.
there's no ego about, oh, people are going to see how many likes it got and how much interaction it got. It doesn't matter. There is none of that on stories. You just put it out there and no one's going to go, oh, only 14 people watched it. We can't see that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think it would encourage people to be a little bit more personable and let us into their lives a little bit more. And I think it will start more interesting conversations. I think obviously they're going to get abused because they always do, because that's the nature of people that use LinkedIn that aren't using it for what it's intended for. And I think a lot more people are going to get unfollowed because if people are posting things that end up being annoying, or they're posting like 30 stories a day, people are just going to be like, get off. And so I think they might see their engagement go down.
Yeah.
But I think it's an opportunity to definitely have a bit more personality. Like I had a video of my son dancing on there last night, and me working at midnight watching David Attenborough and working on my book. So yeah, it's been busy, but I really like them.
I do, and I think I certainly think the personality from people will come out more. It'll encourage them to do more. In terms of other platforms for business, do you use any other platforms? Are you all double down on LinkedIn? Are you trying to replicate now across other platforms? Have you seen any similar success?
I have always had a really large following on Instagram. Not massive, but I used to run a charity. That's a whole other story, but I'll share that with you at some point. But I used to run a charity that helped my Instagram to grow. So I've not really used that for business before, but I have started over the last couple of months because a lot of people from LinkedIn have moved over and are following me on both now, which is lovely. And I've actually had half a dozen clients off of Instagram, or who've gone, I've even had one on TikTok, and I'm not really like a massive TikTok user. I find TikTok like really cringe because I'm not really like a lip syncing dancing kind of person. And I just feel a bit like, I'm quite outgoing, but I do still feel a bit cringe doing all of that. But I mean, they're valuable, definitely. I don't really know what I'm doing on Instagram. I post a few things, but every time I post a selfie, it does really well. And if I post anything else, it doesn't do so well. So it's just the way it is. But it has brought me some clients. So I think it's important to work both sides of things. I don't do Twitter. Twitter just moves far too quickly for me. And there's too much like porn, and not that, no judgment on anyone who's posting that stuff, but I don't want to be scrolling through Twitter with my son and then randomly seeing things that I don't really want to be seeing. And it's really political and argumentative, and I only use Facebook for my family. So
yeah, I'm pretty much the same, really. I don't use Twitter. Use Instagram a little bit, LinkedIn mainly, Facebook for friends and stuff like that more than anything else.
Facebook, my Facebook's only got about 300 people on it. It's completely shut down. I had to change my name on Facebook because I had so many people from LinkedIn trying to add me.
To be honest, I see more and more of that, and I never used to see a market on Facebook for business. However, a couple of years ago, about 14 months ago, me and my business partner started to invest in a lot in property. And since we got into a few property groups and doing different things in property is big on Facebook. And more people were adding me on Facebook via these property forums and business groups on Facebook. I definitely see a different value now on Facebook for business. But it's like, where do you break? Where can you have, I suppose you can have your personal side, but I see Facebook as more personal than any other.
I tried starting a business Facebook, and it annoyed me because it was just one more platform that I had to manage, and my life is by LinkedIn. It's like, I don't really want to be moving everybody off LinkedIn to Facebook. So I started this private LinkedIn group for all of my previous coach members, and I thought, oh God, I'm so going to get tarnished with people thinking I've got a pod. Obviously, it's not a pod because everybody knows how against I against it, I am. Not against it, but that's not my method. But people are actually using it. When they turn the notifications on, they do see the notifications and they are taking part in it. So I'd rather just stick with that. And you know, if we were going to start like a group chat or something, probably use like a Slack chat or something like that would be better. But no, I don't see what people's problems are with LinkedIn groups. I think they work fine, personally, for now.
Where's the future lie for yourself? What's the next step on your career and your plans?
Well, my book's next, so I'm releasing a digital download of content prompts, and that should hopefully be ready by the weekend. So it's 156 different ideas for posts, but that would be able to be used by pretty much anybody, just to kind of provoke ideas from their own stories that could be slightly personal and business mingled together. So people get to know what you do, but who you are as well. So it's like a whole year's worth of content ideas. So that's this week and next week. Hopefully it'll be on release. Then I'm going to try to put together a group coaching course for individuals. So like a 4-week course with some one-to-one time and support throughout, so people can go from sort of 0 to 100 of not knowing anything about LinkedIn to absolutely that I would really like to have sorted for the new year, which would hopefully then free my time up to potentially start an online course, because I would like to be able to offer something that is affordable to everybody. They just might not get the one-to-one time with me doing that. And I think ultimately I would like to be doing more in-house with businesses. I would like to be, I don't see my future as working about LinkedIn forever. That's not my dream. As much as I love LinkedIn and I love meeting all the people I'm doing, I'm hoping this is a way to kind of raise my profile and get me to something like motivational speaking, confidence coaching, sort of going into businesses and talking about the importance of mental health and being able to bring yourself to work and to the corporates, and saying, you know, maybe we should consider allowing our staff to be who they are and stop trying to make them be who we want them to be. I don't know. I don't really understand how it looks yet. I'm kind of just going to see how that progresses. I'm hoping some opportunities will occur. I've had contact from Amazon that are interested in having me speak to their staff, to their managers, their European managers, about inclusivity and diversity, when it's not just about race and gender and sexuality, but also like appearances as well. So there's lots of interesting avenues that I'd like to try. I think I'd quite like to try presenting as well. Like not necessarily a podcast. I don't know. I'm quite enjoying, I love to talk to people and I feel like I can draw good things out of people. So there may be something in that.
I love, back when, you know, after lockdown life, I love the podcasting because you get to meet so many different interesting people. You know, I've had Kevin Clifton on from Strictly Come Dancing, and it's not just the chats you have on here, but it's the chats you have off camera where they give you a real insight into their lives, into the media, into the press. You know, we had an interesting guest on. He owned Derby County Football Club, and he sold one of his businesses for, you know, tens of millions. And a couple of days after, he tried to commit suicide because it wasn't all what he cracked up to be. He couldn't deal with not having any kind of responsibility in his life anymore. He was so unfulfilled. And like, it's interesting having these stories. You learn so much from people, more than you'll learn in any business, because these guys are doing it. And, you know, having sports stars. We had Anthony Ugogo, Olympic boxer, on, and he talked about where he never trained for the Olympics because his mum was in hospital on the lead up to the Olympics, and it was all around the mindset and how he prepared himself and things like that. So the podcasting is a great way into presenting and talking to people and learning from people, and then opportunities come off the back of that because you then get associated with these people and you get close to these people and become friends with some of these people that you have on your podcast, and business opportunities come off the back of that. So it's definitely a great one, and I definitely see someone like yourself who's already set a different trend on LinkedIn, if you brought that into the podcasting world, it's a massive growing opportunity. That's
I'm doing
only
one.
getting bigger.
I'm doing one next week with Mike Winnett. His
He's
new
been a
habit.
guest.
Has
He's been
he?
a guest.
Oh, amazing! He's
Um,
lovely. He's lovely. So I'm looking forward to that. And there might be some collaboration in future. Some opportunities. I'm also doing filming with Mark Gaisford from Red Sprout Media in the coming weeks, and I'm also doing some filming with Jay Ludgrove. So we're going to be filming some content for LinkedIn together. So he's from GL Pro in London. So I'm basically whoring myself around to all these different media, video creation agencies. But I'm loving it. It's so much fun, and this is stuff that I never, in a million years, imagined that I would be able to do. The downside for me is, though, and this is what I'm really still getting my head around, is because I stand out from the crowd anyway, I'm very recognisable, and I'm really not comfortable with that yet, because I have been recognised a few times in public now and approached by people that I don't know. And especially when I'm with my son, that makes me feel quite anxious. So I'm going to have to get over it.
Again, the best way to get over it and the best way to deal with it is reach out to people who are similar, who have gone through things with yourself. One of our businesses, we create a lot of content. So we have a business called Brand Control, but as a part of Brand Control, we have what's called the Content
Brand control,
PT.
as in ground control.
Brand control.
Not like a David Bowie pun.
No. Even though we do sing that David Bowie song in the office. However, we work with influencers. So Adam Collard, Charlie Sims, we work with influencers creating content, because every influencer needs content to keep up their brand. And James of Geordie Shore, so we've got ads who goes around creating content. But off the back of that, there's more and more influencers. And when you understand their story and what they go through and how they're now propelled on a level where, they get recognised every day and approached and pitched at and things like that. Maybe it's reaching out to somebody like that and saying, how did you deal with it? How do you get over it?
I think I might have to, because it's not something that I'm very comfortable with. And it happened recently, and I was like at lunch with my son, and they just ended up sort of sat chatting to us, and I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with this. And it happened in Brighton as well when I was with my little boy, and they asked if they could have a photo, and I was like, no. I want to be polite, but you're not expecting it, are you? So I start thinking, oh my God, if I just wander down to the shop in my PJ bottoms with my hair on top like a pineapple, or if I bump into someone who recognises me. So I just feel like I'm feeling like I need to be on all the time, I guess.
Yeah, I think
I'll get my head around it. It's just because it all happened in lockdown. Like the escalation of my profile happened in lockdown, and I didn't see anybody, and I didn't really think about it. And then lockdown sort of lifted a little bit, and I started going out into the world, and I was like, oh, people recognise me now, and people are staring at me more often than normal. I don't like this very much.
Yeah,
so
that's only going to get more. And if you think of it as well, it's only going to get the bigger you get, because you're still massive in terms of what you've created, but still fairly small in terms of
globally
the potential of where you're going to go as well as you keep on going. So it'd be interesting to see where you progress. And
unless I just duck and run and go, I don't want to deal with this anymore, and then just go back to typing all day.
So if people want to reach out and book in a coaching session with yourself, buy your services for LinkedIn, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn under Lea Turner, obviously Lea without the H. They can go to my website, which is stereo-type.co.uk. That's got all my LinkedIn training. That's got all the coaching. That's got all the details of the transcription, if that's what you're interested in. And my book will be up on there as of hopefully tomorrow night or Saturday. So that's pretty much it, really. The website's got all my contact details and links to my Instagram and all of that.
I've got one more question, which is a question I heard someone ask the other day, which is a great question. What are you doing now that your future self will thank you for?
Saving money. That's really boring, isn't it?
No,
saving money. I want to buy a house. I want to move back to Brighton, where my heart is, really. Take my son back to grow up back in Brighton, near my family, and go on loads of holidays with all the money that I'm going to earn.
What's your top 3 travel dreams, destinations?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've traveled a lot. I've been really lucky. I really want to go to South America. I'd really like to go. I want to take my son to Borneo in the Philippines. We were in Thailand earlier this year, and we went to Costa Rica and Western Africa last year. Hopefully next summer a safari as well. I'd like to take. I've done it before, but I'd really like to take him to Gambia, Kenya, somewhere like that. So
Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Leah. Good luck with the future.
Thank you. Take care.
See ya.